All right, y'all, let's get into this drag race. So, the episode starts off Vixen with that bullshit again, okay? I don't like Vixen. Again, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. There are people who feel like keeping it real means that's a license to be a bitch. And it's not. You can keep it real. It doesn't mean you have to be a bitch. And I just feel like Vixen is one of those people that's like, well, if you come for me, I'm coming back at you 20 times harder. And you just don't. I just don't feel like that's the way you have to be. I understand it's a competition. And yeah, I ain't saying you don't have to clap back at people. But I just feel like you don't have to, as the girl said it later on in the episode, you ain't got to be at a 10 all the time. Like, you just don't. So, anyway, that's where the episode starts, with Vixen being Vixen. The mini challenge was a quick drag. They had a 20-minute quick drag, and they had to do an advertisement selling Rupaul candy bar. I mean, you could tell by the editing who were at the top, who did the best with it. And so you had three winners. So, of course, when there's three winners, that means it's going to be a team challenge and it's going to be three groups. So you had, I got to look at my notes because there's still a lot of people, a lot of girls in this competition, y'all. But you had Blair Sinclair, who, this is the first week, for me, she sort of stood out, other than the fact that she looked like she an 8-year-old little boy, but okay. Monique Hart and Monet Exchange. So those were your three winners. And so it was three dating apps that they had to sell. So the first dating app was like End of Days, like who you gonna date if the world's getting ready to end. The other one was a liar, pants on fire kind of thing, like, which is pretty much all dating apps, let's be real. Like, if you've ever been on a dating app, which I have, 80 to 90% of what's on there is some bullshit. So I don't think that was a hard thing to sell, because that's just pretty much what people do anyway. Whether it be a small lie or a big lie, if you've been on a dating app, you done told one of them. You didn't this lie, that lie, that lie. Or some people put pictures from 10 years ago. Some people, just that bullshit that people do to try to sell themselves, which is all a dating app is that you're selling yourself. And then the third one was butt face, ugly, something like that, where basically you have a banging body but an ugly face. And so, which again, does a lot of people. So, again, they get to pick teams, and they didn't pick Eureka last this time, which I thought was interesting. That Eureka got picked. Actually, she was picked pretty early, and Eula was actually the last one to get picked. And we're gonna see why. So they're in there. They have to actually come up with the the concept of the commercial, have the lines, do their own lines. Like, they had to do everything for the commercial. And Michelle Visage and Carson were the directors. So, excuse me, y'all. So each team, they came out and they did their own thing. And from what they showed us, I really wasn't that impressed with any of the teams except for the butt face one. Asia stole the show, and it was hilarious. But the rest of them didn't really do a lot for me. I mean, Eureka, I felt like she did well with her team, but Eureka was being Eureka. Like, Eureka, when she's not in her own head, she performs. And so she did what she was supposed to do. I didn't think she did anything from the rehearsals. I didn't think she did anything extraordinary, but I think she was okay. So, let me go to my notes because I want to make sure I don't miss nothing. What's funny, you was getting on everybody's nerves with her team. They're trying to give her direction and she's not listening. They're trying to kind of tell her how they do the makeup, and she's doing the total opposite of what they're telling her. They're like, make your face as ugly as you can, and she is putting sparkles and shit on her face. Like, that is not making your face ugly. And she was like, well, I'm going to put dots on my face. To me, she looked like a leopard because she put dots, and then she had like this hairs hanging down, like whiskers. Like, it looked like she did like a leopard face to me. Like, it wasn't ugly by any stretch, especially not compared to the other people on her team who had warts and fucked up skin, and the noses were here, and they hands above outdid her with the makeup. And when they were trying to give her direction, she took it very personally and got very snippy with them. Like, okay, I heard you. You ain't got to yell at me. You ain't got to. And they were like, we not yelling. We just trying to help you out because you look like you struggling with what we trying to do here. So, but what was funny while they were in the workroom, girl, they still talking about Vanjie. Let me tell y'all something. Vanjie may not have stayed on this show, but Vanjie is on every fucking episode, and I love it. That exit she gave is going to guarantee that she is remembered. And bitch, to Vanjie, if you're not out there at every performance, end of your performance with your Vanjie exit, you are missing a golden opportunity because they are still talking about your ass. And for the previews for next week, they still talking about you. So you may not have stayed on the show, but you created something for yourself, so you better be taking advantage of it. So that's what was, I put that in my notes. See, it's in my notes. That's how funny it was. Monique was doing way too much with her directing. She was a micromanager, and she was getting on my fucking nerves. Like, she was yelling, like, Michelle was even like, she directed, like, she yelling cut for herself and action. Like, that's my job. But I get it. You're the team captain. You're feeling pressure. You know that if the team goes down, the first person they look at is the captain. So I get it. But yeah, you was doing a little bit much. Just a smidgen. The thing with Vixen comes up again. So here's the argument. Last week's Maxi Challenge was your best drag. And what happened was the wig, Vixen won. The wig that she had on, though, was not her wig. So Aquaria makes the comment, which, to her credit, she had said it in the confessional, and then she said it to Vixen. So I'm going to give you points for being straight up honest and saying it to her, what you said behind her back. I'm going to give you credit for that. The problem was, you said it to her, and her clap back at your ass was so good, it shut you the fuck up. Like, you didn't have nothing, you just didn't have no clap back. And because what you said was, I don't understand how that was your best drag and that wasn't even your hair, because she got the hair from Monique. And come to find out later on, her and Monique had actually exchanged wigs. It wasn't like she borrowed the wig from Monique. They had actually exchanged hair. And, you know, Vixen was like, I bought hair to match this outfit. I just exchanged wigs, and that wig I like better. And okay. But what happened was, when Aquaria made that comment, Vixen's comment back to Aquaria was, and your best drag wasn't even on the runway, and Aquaria ain't had shit. It was just like, So she shut your ass down. And then from that point on, then you went into victim mode. Why are you so negative? Well, I'm not talking to you. Well, bitch, you came for her first. And I don't even like Vixen, so I pissed off that you put me in a position to have to defend her ass. But you came at her first. Don't get mad because her clapback was better. And if you know you ain't had no good clapback, you should shut the fuck up. Lesson learned. So, and that whole thing gets extended in the Untucked. I ain't covering Untucked. Y'all just gotta watch Untucked. Although I'll come back to that. I will cover one thing in the Untucked, but I'll come back to that. No, I'll say it now. The one thing that came up in the Untucked was, and again, Vixen brought up a valid point, and Vixen's thing was, because when they got to going at it again in the Untucked, dang it, y'all, that allergic reaction, I don't know what the hell is, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. The Untucked, Vixen brought up the point because when they got to arguing, Aquaria starts crying. And the minute she starts crying, Vixen was like, see, that's that bullshit, because now I look like the bully. Nobody's going to remember that you came for me first. All they're going to remember is that I made you cry. And then I look like the angry black chick making the little white girl cry. And her point was so valid. It was so valid. Because she's right. That is all that people are going to remember. And it does make her look like the bully. But what I'm going to say to you, Vixen, is what I said before. You still came in at a 10. So no, you weren't the bully. And no, you didn't start it. However, because she came at you on 3, you came back on 10. That's what people are going to pay attention to. And one of the queens actually tried to have that conversation with you and try to tell you that, and you wasn't trying to hear it. Like, you couldn't receive it. So It's whatever. But like I said, y'all gotta go look at the Untucked, because I ain't about to cover the whole damn Untucked. But um the only thing that ended that argument was a spider. Somebody found a spider on their dress, and you would think, oh my God, you would think it was a motherfucking tarantula crawling across the damn room. It was a spider about, and I don't like bugs either, so let me be clear. But it was a spider about this big. And it was hilarious. They were jumping over tables and screaming like, it was hilarious. But that's what ended the fight, to be honest with you, because they started screaming about that and people wanted something else. Aquarium. Oh, that's what I just talked about. So we get to the runway, and the judges, Courtney Love and a super fan. And again, I love this super fan thing. I love the fact that there are people who are so dedicated to the show. I don't know if it's a contest they enter or they just retweet a lot or whatever. I don't know how they're chosen, but I love the fact that they get chosen and they have an opportunity to participate on the panel. And I think that is just great. And maybe one day I'll be one. I don't know, but I just think that is absolutely great. Courtney Love is the other guest judge. Let me tell y'all something. Courtney Love was high as Cooter Brown, as my mama would say. Cooter Brown. Has Courtney Love ever been sober? That's a question. And let me say this. If she wasn't high, she looked and acted high. So maybe I should say allegedly. Because she looked and acted high. I mean, she was slurring her words. She was all over the place. Like, even a couple of times, the camera showed Rue's face, and it's editing and stuff, but that shit was hilarious because Rue's face was just like, all right then. You know how Rue does that? And she had that going on. And her face was almost like, all right then, we're going to move on. You know, but yeah, Courtney was all over the fucking place. The runway this week was feathers. So again, I'm only going to talk about the people that I really liked or the people that stood out to me, because it's still a lot of them and I ain't got time to go through 12 looks. I'm not doing it. But I loved Eureka's look. She was giving me like a Ursula, if Ursula was on land, you know, kind of thing. She had this black feathered cape and she has her hair up in this, you know, like this cone wig thing, and her makeup is very dark and goth, and she's got the contacts in, like the green yellow contacts, and it was everything. I loved it. Okay, she did that. So Eureka had a great week. She did that. Mayhem loved her look. She had this magenta. Again, she's pageant, and I love it. I love pageant drag. But she had this, it was a magenta dress with black feathers outlining it, and, you know, I ain't crazy about them contacts, though. I'm not crazy about the contacts, Mayhem, but, okay, but you work them. You do it. You do your thing, and you work it. It's clearly a part of your act, because you work them contacts, because I think this is about, I know it's at least the second time you've worn them. It might be the third out of 3 weeks, but I know it's at least the second time you've had the contacts in. And then, Channing Michaels, sorry. Channing Michaels, I liked her look too. She had like a Wicked Queen thing going. I think Carson described it as like a Bob Mackie Cher. Like, I definitely could have seen Cher in that. I definitely see the Bob Mackie reference in that outfit, but I really liked it. I really did like it. Monet, for the second week in a row, Monet, your outfit gives me club. Your outfit is an outfit that I could see one of my girlfriends wearing when we go into the club. Last week, your outfit was cute, but it was club. It was, okay, girl, you're going to tear the club up with that one, because that's a badass look for the club. Same thing this week. It was cute. First of all, I didn't even see that many feathers, but because what it looked like was an outfit you already had that you just glued some feathers on. Okay, whatever. But again, it didn't do nothing for me. It just didn't do nothing for me. It was just plain. Asia took a risk, but it paid off. Asia came out looking like Tweety Bird. So she had like, it was like the whole club kid. It was a club kid outfit. You know, it was very big and bright yellow, and it had the red, I'm sorry, the blue eyes on it, and her hair was like in this mohawk thing, I guess. I don't know. But it could have went left or right, depending on the mood the judges were in, to be honest with you. But it could have went left or it could have went right. But they loved it, and your performance this week was so on point. So you had a great week too. So you and Eureka had great weeks. You slayed that runway, and you did well in the commercial. And they were actually in the top. You know, Eureka, Asia, and I forgot who the third person was that was in the top. But Asia won. Asia won for the week. And, of course, Eureka was safe. All three of the commercials, to me, fell flat. Like, there was some okay performances. Like I said, Eureka did well. Asia stopped the show. Like, Asia, hands down, stole the show in her commercial. But the commercials were just okay. Like, they were okay. And it's the second week in a row that the challenge has just been okay for me. But we're going to see. I don't know if her writers got tired because they went right behind All-Star right into this, because All-Stars were good. The challenges on All-Stars was good. My problem with All-Star was the way that shit ended. But the challenges for the season were really good to me. Oh, shit. Anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. I lost my total train of thought. This week, though, they kind of switched it up because they didn't grade the teams as a whole. Everybody was graded individually, was evaluated, for lack of a better word, evaluated individually. And I think that threw people off, because usually with a team challenge, it's an all or nothing kind of thing. So, if you were on the winning team, but you had a fucked up performance, you couldn't hide this week. Whereas last week, some people got over because they happened to be on the winning team, because I think that some different choices may have been made last week had everybody been evaluated individually. But okay. So the critiques, the bottom, Mayhem, Michaels, and Ohio, yeah, and Yuha, thank you, Yuha. My problem with Michaels was this: you were the narrator, and your lines fell flat, and that was one of the critiques. But here's the problem: you wrote those lines, and you asked to be the narrator, because what you said was, well, because I wrote them, I can deliver it better. Because Mayhem was supposed to be the narrator, and you took that part from Mayhem. Now, Mayhem let you take it. I ain't defending Mayhem. Mayhem let you take that part, but your argument was, well, I wrote these lines, and so because I wrote them, I can deliver them. Like, I know I can do a great job, and I know the lines. I know how I meant for them to sound. I know, you sold it. Okay. So they let you have it. But when your performance fell flat, then what your argument in front of the judges was, well, the lines just weren't that strong. Bitch, you wrote them. You ain't say that to the judges. You made it seem like somebody just gave you those lines and you just read them. You wrote the fucking lines. So don't complain now about the lines being not being good. You fucking wrote them. Bitches. Mayhem. You should have spoken up. You played. This was not the challenge for you to play to play that position you played. You were quiet. You sat back, and you sort of allowed this. In my opinion, you allowed the situation to sort of crash and burn with you, and that didn't work in your favor. You ended up on the bottom because your character didn't land. The jokes weren't funny. I didn't see the connect when I watched the commercial. I was just like, I don't get it, and so. Your argument to the judges was, well, you didn't want to speak up because you were following the lead of your leader. Well, you know what? I've always heard, who's the bigger fool? The fool or the fool following the fool? So, yes, you had a team leader and so forth, but you didn't speak up and give your opinion. You did not speak up and say, I don't think this is good, or this isn't going to land, or this joke isn't funny. You just let the shit go. And you ended up at the bottom. And so that's on you, boo. And I love you. I'm Team Mayhem, and I want Mayhem to win, but this one's on you, boo. You were difficult the whole challenge. You didn't listen to direction. You didn't listen to your teammates when they tried to give you advice. When they were going through coming up with ideas for the story, you weren't listening. You had your own idea of what should happen. And then when the judges were trying to give you critiques, you were so quick clapping back. You weren't hearing them. And you were so busy defending yourself and trying to justify, explain whatever word you want to use that it came off as whiny. It came off as defensive. And you already know that wasn't going to fly. So I knew she was going to be at the bottom. And I knew Mayhem was going to be at the bottom, lip syncing. Because I think with Mayhem and with Michaels, it came down to their runway. And everybody liked Michael's runway, but they were split on Mayhem's runway. And so I was like, okay, if that's what it's going to come down to, then that's what it's going to come down to. And I was like, I just hope that Mayhem, you lip sync the fuck out of whatever song they chose. And that's pretty much what happened. Courtney Love, I already said that. I'm looking at my notes and I wrote on here, Courtney Love, High as Hell, and Ruface. I already talked about that, but Courtney Love. Mayhem, she did that with the lip sync. She did it. My eyes, and part of it was that she had on the magenta dress. Part of it was that. But my eyes followed her throughout the whole lip sync. And it was even a couple of times that Yuha was in front of her, but I still looked at Mayhem. Mayhem did the damn thing, and then towards the end, she started throwing her feathers off, and she was giving it. She was giving it. And she stayed. Shantae, you stay. So, again, we're going to see how this Vixen shit continues to roll out for the season. I don't like Vixen. I don't. Like I said, my big pet peeve of mine is people who think that being a bitch is equivalent to keeping it real. Because you don't have to be a bitch to be honest and straightforward and be real with people. But anyway, y'all tell me what you think. Again, the community is growing. Thank you so much. Continue to click that button and subscribe and all of that. We're trying to build up our community. Y'all let me know what y'all think in them comments. Later.